All right. So we're just gonna start it. I want to welcome you all to Increase. And today's broadcast is really about relationship environments, and it's something that I've been like really just thinking about, especially with my time away from everyone. Hey, love. Um, I'm so glad you're on. I know you're at work. But it's something that I really just been like just pondering over, and I've kind of just been getting some concepts in my head of exactly what it is that I want to do, what it is I wanted to talk about, and it's something I wanted to come back with talking about relationships. I think that a lot of times, especially in today's society, we really are not coherent when it comes to relationships. A lot of times we just fumble people, we fumble relationships, not only because we're not prepared, but we really don't have an end goal in mind. Nobody wants to just be in a relationship with a person, whether it's uh, whether it's dealing with something on a personal level or even um, even business wise. You don't want to just get into a relationship just to be in a relationship. And so I wanted to just come back, my comeback video, so to speak, and just talk about that, kind of deal with it. And so I wanted to talk about what is the relationship environment. So we know our environment is things that surround us. And so with that being said, just really with the concept of just environment, relationship dealing with people who we engage not only in conversation with, but also information with. So that really puts us into a manifold different positions, whether it is friendships, whether it is dealing with um, personal dating, marriage, and even business. One thing is for certain, and that is you want to make sure that whenever you enter into a relationship with the person, that the people around you, the things around you, is conducive for that relationship to not only thrive, but to um, excel and exceed where it starts out from. You don't want to be in a relationship with a person and the way it started is the way it continues to be. But you want it to grow, you want it to blossom and be everything that you thought it could be and some. So I wanted to again come back to increase and really just kind of bombard you with some things to really think about. I'm not coming as a relationship expert. I'm not coming as a person who knows all of the answers, but I really want my audience, those of you who've been rocking with me, to really think. Those of you who are new, congratulations, you stumbled upon a gem. And so uh, today, I just want to get you to really think. It's Monday. Today is Halloween. Many people are celebrating. Some are getting their costumes together. And just like you take those Christmas photos, and everyone has the same kind of pajamas and all of that. Halloween been doing that for quite some time. But one thing is for certain, with both of those taking place, you really got to look at it and go, in order for me or in order for the couple to pull it off, you gotta be on the same page, or you need to be on the same page. And so that you have to create that environment around that relationship in order for it to truly work. So let's move forward with this conversation, shall we? Let's dig in. All right. So what does it mean to really have or really deal with relationship environment? There are two things you need to consider when considering your relationship environment. Am I ready? Right? Meaning, have I prepared myself? I've gotten the proper healing needed. Um, I've really taken an overview of my past and know where I'm going. And then the second thing is have I allocated enough time to truly be invested in the relationship? So the first thing I need to do, I need to make sure that I have properly set myself into a position where I'm healthy mentally and spiritually. I'm focused on what I want and where I want to go. And then, secondly, you want to make sure that you have an end goal, right? And that end goal meaning that you have set enough time within your day, within your week, to truly invest in that relationship. Because all of those things truly affect the relationship. A lot of relationships that we have don't die because, or they don't pan out the way we want them to, not because always because there's no love. It's because proper um, preparation has not been done so that the relationship can truly be what it need to be, what it could be, what it should be. um One of the other things I wanted to talk want to transition to is, you know, how are your current relationships? So if you're single and you're looking for that, that person to be special in your life, what are the current relationships that you're in? How healthy are they? Right? How healthy are your friendships? Are you surrounded by people who still, are really childish? And so the person who you're pursuing or, want to pursue needs to be on that same level, so to speak. Simply because after a while, the people who you have a longer history with is going to affect the personal relationship that you're trying to have with the person. And so you're so accustomed to a certain level of humor and a certain level of freedom, the personal relationship that now you want to share as a possible spouse or whatever will soon take on various hits, and they'll begin to take on unnecessary hits because at this present moment you're more invested in the ones that you've been in the relationship with the longest more than the person who you actively have pursued, and now things are not always not on that same level. So you want to, if you're pursuing in those particular areas or whatever, you want to make sure that you look at the health of the relationships that you already have, not only your friendships but even your business relationships. All of your relationships, though they may be different and separate, they affect each other in many ways, and it's because of not doing your due diligence that your relationships that you begin to enter into that are new will begin to suffer and possibly go through unnecessary pain because you didn't do your due diligence and making sure that all of your relationships are healthy, especially if you're on the path to maturing. You're on a path to gaining more financial wealth. You're purchasing land or starting a business. You want to make sure that everything around you, again, this is relationship environment. So you want to make sure that the current relationships that you're already in are healthy, that they are conducive to this next phase of your life. One thing, I've noticed even when it comes to friendships, friends sometimes get jealous, or not even so much as jealous, but they begin to feel some kind of way because they were not properly prepared for the next or that transition of one friend getting into a very serious relationship. They're like, well, oh, we're used to just the flings of your past. We didn't know that you were really looking for someone that you're going to be serious with. And so now, instead of you spending a lot of time with us, you're more focused on that. And so you begin to damage people because you didn't prepare the people around you for this next transitional move that you are making. And so it's not saying that they are not happy for you or they don't want you to be happy. It's that if you have, since you have that kind of relationship with them, it would have been more beneficial had you said or done, hey, I'm really serious about this, and this is something that I truly want to pursue after and do. And so whenever I do find this person, then guess what? I'm really going to be invested in this person. And so a lot of times in relationships, we damage people because we don't handle people right. What's going on, Erica? Um, and so we got to do that. We got to begin to handle people correctly in every aspect and in every relationship, even with our children. We got to make sure that before you bring someone new in, you want to make sure that you prepare your kids for these people. Or or you have, a boyfriend or whatever, or you're looking for a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. Prepare them for your friends. It's vice versa. It's not just one sided. you gotta do your due diligence. And I feel like a lot of times in relationships, when things start to get serious, that person who's in that serious relationship, instead of being vocal to their friends and to their family and whoever, they kind of get silent and they cut them off cold turkey. And then they're like, well, why are you acting different? And it's like, well, I just, I'm into this person and I'm loving them. And it's like, it's not that they don't want you to be happy, but but you didn't communicate that. And so as you get older, you gotta communicate, and not only just talk things out, but stay there long enough so that people get an understanding. You can't just leave people on red. You can't just cut things off. And I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of doing handling people wrong, and then I'm looking at them strange because they're acting different. Well, they're acting different because I'm the one who initiated being different. And so as I'm getting older, I'm 40. So now I'm looking at every relationship in my life to be solid. And if you want to build solid relationships, you got to first be solid yourself. You got to be that person who you want everybody else to be. And when people don't fit that mold after a certain period of time, then you can move on and things will be good because you did the work and you gave them the opportunity to be better. And so our environments is a lot of times what kill the relationship. It's not the toxic behavior, it's not you overlooking red flags. It's the mere fact that and sometimes in our most intimate relationships, we choose our friends over the person who we say we want to spend the rest of our lives with. Or we choose another person over our children and really not hearing what it is that they're saying. And so instead of us sitting there to get an understanding, we get frustrated and push everybody away. And then that becomes a pattern. So every relationship in your life, when things don't go the way you want it, you start cutting people off until you get to the point when you're, 45, 50 and you have no friends and you're like, my longest relationships were when I was younger or when I was in high school. And it's like you're this old and you don't have and the longest relationships you've had were when you were a kid. Like what happened? And you got to start doing that mental work and start reflecting back and going, wait, I started this pattern a while back and I didn't even realize it. I didn't even realize that I was the butthole in all of the relationships. That it wasn't that people didn't want me to be happy. I was around haters, or people didn't want me to grow, and this, that, and the third. It was that I didn't even give them the common courtesy to have a conversation with them, or even to say to them, you know what? You a dope person, you a nice person, you a good person, but right now I'm not in a place where I can even be a benefit to you. Like we got to have those kind of conversations, or you just playing around. You're grown, but you still acting like a little kid. You got to really look at your mental health in every aspect of your relationships and go, as much as I want to be a CEO of a company and have my own whatever, I'm not mentally there. As much as I want to have friends, I'm really not in a good place right now to be a good friend. Like the relationship will be so one-sided, I'll wear them out. The relationship will be so one-sided that people would get frustrated with me and I could turn some a good person into a bad person. Like I really got you really got to check yourself. If you still in your whole phase, you gotta begin to communicate that with the people who you want to be in a relationship with. Like, listen, um, hey, I just want to be transparent and honest. Right? I like you. You're a really good person. But right now, you like contestant number 3. You might be contestant number 5. And people will respect you and even might even go along with it because you were honest, because you were upfront, because you dared to say what people think or what they try to post on social media. Social media has given us the ability to put on a mask for the world. It gives us the opportunity to be somebody who you would never be in real life. And so people act like they're experts and whatever, and they try to give fake advice when the truth of the matter is they're not like that in real life. And the one thing I hate is that people forget that people know you in real life. They know how you are. So you can post all the stuff that you want, but in real life, you're not like that. And so I found in my lifetime how fake people can really be, and how they can, just be very manipulative. If they just would have been honest, you probably still would have rocked with them. You might not have rocked with them as heavy, but you still would have been with them. Everything still would have been cool. They could have had you in their corner, but now they didn't gain you as an enemy, but they gained you as a person who I just know you by face, and I know you by, what I'm saying, we connected on social media, but I never put any kind of stock into anything that you say or do. I can't believe anything come out of your mouth. I laugh at your memes. I heart, your kid pictures, but I can never take anything that you say or do serious, because your environment is just bad. Your environment is bad because your mind is bad. Like, you still have that kid mentality, that you want to portray yourself to be one thing, but in actuality, you're still playing games. And if you've been a person who's been through a lot of stuff in your life, the one thing you want to be around is people who play games all the time. You don't want to be around people who are indecisive. You don't want to be around people who never want to really come up. Like, they talk a good game. They talk like they want to do it. But when it's time to put money where their mouth is, when it's time to put feet to the ground, they are not where they want to be. They're not going to do it. They always going to be late. They're never going to, what I'm saying, put forth the same kind of effort. You're right, Erica. Change your mindset. Like, you really got to check your mentals and really begin to go, I'm not where people think I am. It's you're not even dealing with an imposter syndrome. You truly are the imposter. You really don't know who you are as a person. And instead of ruining good people, and instead of ruining, you know, really great relationships, it's truly best to just um hang on a second. Instead of truly just ruining good people, it's truly just best to just sit back and get your bearings, really figure out what you want. It's one thing to click hearts on social media and be like, yeah, 5 years I want to go to Dubai, whatever. But you got to get your credit right. You got to get your money right. You got to get the people around you right. If you're around negative people, or you find yourself one of those people who love mess, who love drama, who love foolishness. You know what I'm saying? You like being around all these kind of fights, and you trying to live vicariously through people. You're always going to be miserable, and nothing is never going to be enough. And no matter how many people give to you, you're always going to be the leech in the group. You're always going to be that person who people will be like, they remember you for certain moments, but you'll be the person who they always say, I never bring them with me. I never let them. I can't deal with the foolishness that they bring. Like, you're a good time, but you bring so much drama with you. You bring so much negative energy with you. Like, we gotta do a whole therapy session before we get to the fun. Like, nah, I don't even want to deal with that. I'd rather rock by myself. I'd rather eat by myself. I'd rather go to the movies by myself. I'd rather just chill by myself. You know what I'm saying? Because you bring so much down with you. Like, you come with a whole, like, airport luggage facility with you. Like, nobody wants to deal with that. And so it's our relationship. And just think, how many dope people have been turned from kind-hearted, loving, good people to just straight savages, because people fumble them, because people mishandle them, because people will rather use them and abuse them than to really just let them just say, listen, I can't make it. I can't hang with you. It ain't you. I'm just not I'm not I'm not I'm not that kind of person. Yo, I'm telling you, Erica, that's how you gotta, like, the more I look at how this world is spinning and things are going, it's best to just rock with you and your kids. It's best to just rock with people who are already on the move and on their way. I say this all the time to people. People love joining movements that's actually moving. I want to be around people who already going, and like I just hop on the train with them because I'm already moving too. So it ain't like I gotta catch up. We just linking up. We already link, click tight, because we both heading in a direction and we both know what we want to do. We know where we want to go. You know what I mean? Another thing that is dealing with relationship environments, right? Because we dealt with mental, but then you also, those that surround you. You know what I mean? You gotta look at the people that feed them, right? You gotta look at how people shape your mind. So I'm gonna put it into a better perspective. Sometimes people watch like the reality TV so much, they bring that kind of a mindset into their relationships, and they bring that kind of not only like energy, but they also bring those kind of practices. They try to dress like them, they try to talk like them, they try to move like them, and they don't even realize that these people are actors, that they're being paid to play a character on television. It's like politicians. Politicians act like they're against each other, but you can look at videos and pictures and they dapping each other up, they laughing with each other, they're doing things secretly behind closed doors that you don't even know anything about unless you research it. And so you got to look at who is feeding me. What is the people like when you get ready to enter into a relationship with a person, look at the people who feeding them, because the people who are feeding them is eventually going to be feeding you. So if they're watching stuff that's negative, that's stupid, that's not growing, that's not maturing them, that's not pushing them to be better, then that mindset eventually is going to get pushed off on you. Have you ever been around like some people who are just go-getters? They moving, they shaking, they making things happen. And then all of a sudden you start seeing them slow down and you like, well, wait a minute, like what happened? What's going on in your life that you start slowing down? And or you look at people who used to be very organized, they were time oriented, and then all of a sudden they start slowing down and they start being late and they start being like they're very much so confused. Well, look at who they start hanging around. They start hanging around people who are arrogant, who are snobbish, who are selfish, who are greedy. They start hanging around people who are bitter, who are complainers. They start hanging around people who don't want anything, that they rather someone else do all of the work and they take the credit for it. And then all of a sudden you start seeing them regress from the person that you know. It's because who's feeding them. And so that's why a lot of these companies, they start looking at your social media. It wasn't so that they like, oh well, you represent our company and blah 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 blah. They're like, well, we want to see where your mind is. We want to see how your actions play out. I think we really did our due diligence on the people that we surround ourselves with. We'll hang out with more quality people instead of trying to get more quantity of people. We'll start trying to be around in the crowd and really just understand all I need is like two or three people, and we could just rock out. We can make moves, we can do everything that we want to do. And I think that a lot of times that's really what hurts us the most, is that we are not looking at what's happening around us. You know what I'm saying? Not just the people who are close to you, but who are even speaking to them, because those kind of people also bring them down. Those are the kind of people that also begin to reflect a certain kind of mindset. And so it begins to erode away at who their core person is, who what really is inside of them. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a person who I've gone to college a little bit. I have a few college credits or whatever, but I'm an avid reader. I love to read, and I love being around those not only who are readers but who are thinkers. I like being around people who are thinkers, who are people who like just coming up with different concepts. And so I gravitate to those kind of people. But that doesn't mean that I don't associate or hang around sometimes with people who are not. But I limit my time with those kind of people because I don't want them to corrupt what I have going on. I don't want them to eventually have me where I stop reading, where I stop thirsting for knowledge, where I stop thirsting to be better. And I think in a lot of ways, that truly what happens, even in our personal life, right? You have a husband and wife, and then all of a sudden they start separating themselves, and you start seeing this big wedge in between relationships, whether they're married or you're engaged or you're dating. But you start seeing people and they go, well, we kind of just drifted apart, whatever. You got to start asking the question, who are you around? And then who is around the people that you are around? Because they begin to try to, sometimes we inadvertently begin to take on not only the mindset, but we begin to take on people's gestures and their body movement. And it sometimes mimic how when a person cheats and they start acting like the person they cheated with, it's the same way even in our like friendships and relationships, business, pleasure, whatever. You begin to see a change, and they become, instead of them being very familiar and very common to you, they begin to be that perfect stranger. They're a person who know your deepest secrets, but they're also a person who you now don't really recognize because the way that they move and the way that they act. And that's a dangerous and a crazy place to be when you're connected to people that you once knew to be one way, but by them associating with others or even yourself, you begin to drift apart. And so again, it's not the love is gone or that you're even bored. It's truly about who are you connected to and what are they saying? What are they really feeding you in the midst of all of this, right? I know I'm boring you. Second, lastly, I'll say it like this. Have you ever been in positions where you mishandled somebody? And here's the last one. When was the last time you mishandled yourself? So have you been in a situation where people have mishandled you, right? Somebody mishandled you. They you were genuine, solid. You really tried to make sure that they were good. You loved on them, cared for them, whatever. And then by them being greedy, selfish, lazy, abusive, whatever, you had to separate yourself from them. But here's the other one. Have you ever mishandled yourself? Now we always gonna say, well, yeah, I know I mishandled myself, but really understood what that means. To really mishandle yourself is to devalue yourself, not only unknowingly, but knowingly. Sometimes we look at ourselves and then we begin to go, well, I don't want to say this around them because they're going to say that I'm being um just like I'm trying to make myself to be great and big, but you're just really sharing some wins in your life. It's only intimidating to people who are not achieving in their life. We all should be achieving and striving for to be better, to be not perfect but mature, for growth in incremental ways. But the funny thing is that when people who find themselves not growing and maturing like you are, they begin to get not only intimidated, but then they begin to say, "Well, you're being cocky, or now you're obnoxious and whatever." And it's like I'm not doing this to put you down, but I'm really saying, really just reflecting on some of the accomplishments that I've made. It's really me reviewing over my own resume, and I'm saying to myself, like, it's time for me to upgrade in a lot of ways. Because if I stayed comfortable, then I would miss so many other opportunities. I would miss so many ways to make sure that my family can grow and can have and can travel and can do that. I needed to get better. I needed to look over my life. Sometimes in our life, we think, you know, God has forgotten us, or we think that, you know, everybody else is achieving more. It's not until you begin to look at your life and go, well, you know, I've done this, I've been able to achieve this, I've been able to achieve that. So you want to enter into relationships where people have gone through some things, and they've gone through it, and they were able to recognize their faults. They were able to recognize where they had shortcomings, and they say, well, I'm not going to do that again. But then you also want to make sure that they're also the same kind of people who have even mishandled themselves and go, you know what? I'm looking for high quality people. I'm looking for people to be around me that is family oriented like I am, or that is a traveler like I am, or whatever kind of person that you are. You want to look for like minded people. You want to look for people who are similar but have different interests. You know what I mean? So that when you come together, everything isn't just one sided, or you're talking about things from a past tense, as in 10, 15 years ago, but you're really talking about things that has just happened in your life, and you're like, yo, I just want somebody to celebrate with me. I want somebody to enjoy my highs as I enjoy theirs. So, you know, it's time out for the one way streets. Everything needs to be two way, four way, six way, whatever way. But one ways are not cutting it. I think when we begin to really look for those kind of relationships, those reciprocal relationships, we'll begin to truly begin to see growth in ourselves and growth within our own environment. Our relationship environments are very much so poignant and important for the growth and the maturity of who we are. And we do ourselves a disservice when we don't put ourselves in position to have those kind of relationships. Do yourself a big favor. Begin to check your relationship environment. Begin to look at those relationships that didn't work out, and don't look at that person. Begin to look around you, and begin to go, why didn't this relationship truly work? What made that relationship go sour? What was feeding the relationship that it died? What made the relationship go left? Because it wasn't so much just that person, it was everything surrounding it. It was people that you probably didn't even know existed that was feeding in the background. Sometimes we connect with people who don't have their own mind. So they're just puppets of somebody else. And it's frustrating to be in those kind of relationships, because you truly desire to entertain and to be around good people, but they just haven't found the value in themselves to stand up and to speak for themselves. And it's unfortunate that we oftentimes run across those kind of people, but they are part of our growth just the same. And so you don't want to just say cut them off, but you truly just want to recognize the fact that everybody is not like you. So I want to thank you guys for joining me on Increase. I hope that you guys have an amazing week. Check me out come Friday. I may do another live sometime this week. I'm not sure. But I want to give you guys quality content just like this and even better. So share this if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, even if you're on Instagram with me right now. You can share this with somebody that may be going through a little situation in their relationships, and they're looking just linear at that particular person, but they truly need to begin to look at the environment around them, because that is the one thing, in order for a tree to grow, it needs to have the proper environment. It's just not the soil. You got to make sure that the atmosphere, everything is right so that it can grow and produce fruit. It's the same way with our relationships. We got to make sure that not only you and the other person is on, the same level, but you also want to make sure that the environment around you and everything that's going on is flowing and working properly, or you're just wasting your time. So again, thank you guys for rocking with me. You guys have an amazing week, and I'll see you guys on Friday, same time, uh, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As I'll just go live on social media, and we just have a little conversation. So I salute you. I got my shirt, Big Black Energy. And thank you guys again.